I'm Dr. Rossanna Massey, and welcome. Welcome to my masterclass. It's called Turn Off Anxiety. I know, or maybe I have an idea of how much it took for you to come. So I'm really appreciative and I'm glad you're here. So I'm going to start my presentation. Again, welcome. And we're going to be turning off your anxiety today. I just want to remind you, if you are on mute and I don't see you, if you will follow along, you're going to feel a lot better. So don't be afraid, and I'll let you know when we're getting ready to do that. Okay, again, I'm Dr. Rossanna Massey. I am an expert in tapping. My specialty is in trauma and anxieties. And I'm here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, southernmost, and I'm ready to teach you how to turn off your anxiety. Let's go. I want to thank you for coming, and I want you to know, if you're nervous, just hang out. It's going to be all right. I'm not going to be putting anyone on the spot. Excuse me. We're going to do some exercises that not physical exercises. We're going to be doing some tapping exercises. It's going to really help you. And if you want to communicate with me for any reason, I want you to go into the chat box if you know how and click on my name. Don't click off everyone, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. And you're not required to communicate with me right this minute. So we're just going to move on. But I'd like you, if you have already downloaded your workbook, that's great. If you don't know how to do it, that's okay. Have a piece of paper and a pen to write with right now. I'll give you a few seconds to do that, because you're going to need it to gauge a few things. All right, here we go. What you're going to learn today, well, just by talking about your anxiety and learning how to gauge how much of it and actually just owning it is going to distance you from it so that you can better see how you're going to help yourself. You're going to learn a really easy routine. We're going to be activating some points on our bodies. So you're going to really like how that feels. The way I tap is a lot different from traditional EFT tapping, and you're going to know why. And actually, you're going to love it. Like the rest of my clients and the people in my clubs, they adore this free-flowing type of tapping with no formula. And you're going to actually, after this masterclass, you're going to have a little tool in your pocket to help you handle your anxiety a little bit better, make you feel better. So I'm hoping that you learn a lot here. And I'm going to show you how to recognize when energy is actually moving through your body. And that's really exciting, because then you know you're making progress. But I know that some of your anxieties are long-standing conditions. And so I don't want you to feel like you don't have any help. I've got your back. If you want more help, you're going to know how to get a hold of me, and I can help you through anything you're going through. All right, let's go. That's me. I was a chiropractor for almost 30 years, and I've got 20 years experience in EFT tapping. I worked very closely with Gary Craig, the founder. And because I was a chiropractor, my area of expertise with tapping were the negative emotions beneath pain syndromes and serious diseases. A lot of my chiropractic patients not only had back issues, but they had serious diseases along with it. And I noticed how to connect the dots pretty early on. Everybody had like matching emotions, depending on what type of serious disease they had. So the big deal is, since I knew about the negative emotions behind serious diseases, I had a client real early in my experience with tapping and being a practitioner who had pancreatic cancer. And we turned that whole thing off. She was wheeled out of the operating room. They couldn't find the tumor. So she had actually a spontaneous remission. And so after that, Gary Craig started to refer to me, private clients. So I've had a lot of experience with it early on. And thousands, literally thousands of success stories because of it. So I want you to know this stuff works. That's me with my children. I rescue my animals, and I couldn't get a picture of them together. The only time they would get together was like coming to my back door. So I had to hurry up and get over there. So I wanted to show you guys my animals and how much love I have in my house. And I even have 2 cats. So these were all rescued from the desert here in New Mexico. So I love them a lot, and I love to help people, and I love to help animals, FYI. You know, the thing about anxiety is that it's not abnormal to have it. I just want you to know that it's a normal response, actually. And our ancestors had to have a danger switch so that they could run from the saber-toothed tiger that was lurking in the background and hiding. So it actually, having these stress responses actually can mean life or death for us sometimes. Hurry up and run. And, you know, even good stuff that happens to us can press our anxiety buttons. And I'll give you a couple examples. When you already have anxiety, other things on top of it will tend to give you an overreaction. Like, say, for example, you were married in a toxic relationship and finally got that divorce. And even though that's a positive change, it can cause anxiety too. Or you're newly married. Maybe this is your second marriage, and that has a whole bunch of new changes. And so does retiring, for example. There's a lot of good examples of the good stuff that can actually add to your anxiety load, but that's normal and it can be easily overcome. Of course, the unwanted changes will add to your load, like maybe you get diagnosed with a disease, or maybe you tested positive for COVID. That would give you some anxiety. And so these are unexpected stresses that can really throw us for a loop. But even so, there's a solution for that to help you calm down and heal, and that's tapping. You know, people have their own ideas about the way they feel about their anxiety, and these thoughts that are on the screen here were taken from a forum for people where people were asked candidly, you know, exactly what are you thinking about it? How do you feel about it? What's your belief about it? And this one person said, I can't control it. It's just not nerves. So here's someone that just felt completely out of control. Someone tried journaling and yoga, and that was actively trying to take responsibility and do something about it, but they found that didn't work either for them. And another person sadly said, you know, I never feel calm. And I wonder if they remember the last time that they did. So you may be thinking these thoughts about your anxiety too. Start thinking about the way you feel about it, because we're going to use it for later. The grim truth, and I think this is post-pandemic. 550 million people are diagnosed with anxiety disorders, and that's a lot of people in the world that have anxiety. And that means that the solutions that we've had for anxiety thus far ain't been working. So that's why I'm talking to you today about energy psychology. This is a new solution if you've never heard of it before. And just remember, you know, just because you have anxiety doesn't mean you're flawed. It's a natural physiological response. You just need a new way to release it. And this type of solution to your anxiety actually moves it out of your body. That's a big difference. I want you to start thinking about what's your negative belief about the anxiety that you've had in your life. If you have your workbook open, you could write down and you know, keep it a small statement to encompass the way you feel about your anxiety. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll always have it, or I've had it way too long, or it'll never go away, or I'll never control it. Just a small belief. Start thinking about it. If you can write it down on your sheet of paper, do that, because it's useful to see where you're at with it right now. All right, I'll give you a moment to write that down, because I want to talk to you about energy psychology and tapping. And I'm not sure if you've tapped before or if you know anything about it, but it has more evidence of its efficacy than psychotherapy, if you can believe that. Actually, it has more evidence of efficacy because we've had a lot to prove. And so there are a bunch of studies. You'll see for yourself, over 200 studies and articles and comparisons in peer-reviewed journals to really prove that we're not just goofing around here. There's something that really works. More evidence, it's more effective. This is a big statement. It's more effective than cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, not throwing stones at cognitive behavioral therapy, because certainly they really have a way to help you own what's behind your anxiety. They do. They intellectually, they help you, but it does not express these negative emotions out of your body. It only arranges them neatly so that you can live with it a little better intellectually. And guess what? 90% of the patients who have tried tapping for their anxiety, 90 compared to 63, I know you can read this. Tapping compared to talking is a huge difference. You know what? And it works. Now, I added in a really nice comment from one of my clients who lives in Stockholm, who actually had it was a government official who was paralyzed by his anxiety and his depression, was afraid to leave his house. One of the people that I was working with in Sweden told him about me, and we had a quick conversation, and I did a little bit of tapping, and he was floored by how fast he felt after years of just feeling like he's a mess and out of control. So I put this in so that you know that this stuff works. It may be new, but it does work. You're in the right place. So what's it like? Well, here's a person tapping on a stomach point, but we don't always go by that. It's just I'm going to show you what this looks like. We're going to start tapping right now. If you have your piece of paper right by you, put down the date. If you have your notebook, this is a great place to put the date, your starting point. Write down the anxiety that you have this week. Just a little thing, like dogs barking all night and kept you awake. Maybe you got flipped off by a road rage person and they freaked you out. Or just give me a small little incident that spiked your anxiety this week. And then I want you to gauge it 0 to 10. 0, there's no feeling about it. 10, you're all hyped up. And anxiety is oftentimes a feeling in our body. And some of you may recognize that and some of us don't. But if you feel like a buzzing in your head, maybe a racing in your chest, or butterflies in your stomach, or maybe you're the type of person who has to move your foot all the time, shake it or wiggle it, or you can't sit still. Those are anxiety feelings in the body. So if you have any of that right now, write it down so that you have a starting point. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And I just wanted to add, if you have any questions for me, we'll save it for after our meeting. And I'd be happy to answer anything that you have to ask. Okay, moving forward. These are what the tapping points look like. Now, there's one at the side of the hand that I haven't showed, but I will when I hop on. But here we go, top of the head, You're going to use 4 fingers to tap that point on top of the head, side of the eye, the eyebrow point, right where your eyebrow begins, under the eye, right where the bone, the rim of that orbital bone, not inside the eyeball itself. I'm going to hop on, so I'll show you. Okay. The tapping point that's not on here that I want to show you is actually the side of the hand, right here. And they're very, very tiny, like the size of a pin, the actual tapping point. So you're going to overkill with 4 fingertips and tap firmly along there. Go ahead and tap with me now, just to get where the points are. I'll move this cursor. Okay, with the same 4 fingers, we're going to tap right on top of our head. Nice and firm. Don't feather dust, because we're trying to turn on or activate these points. Okay. The next point, we'll use 2 fingers. Now, you could do both sides or one side or cross over, but let's do two sides. Right where the eyebrow begins, tap. And I would tap on mine, but then I'm going to spread my makeup all over my face and look silly for my presentation. So I'm going to just direct you. All right, here's the next point. I'm going to show you right here along the ridge of that orbital bone, not in the eyeball. So tap. Nice and vigorous. I hope you're joining me out there, because this is going to help a lot. Okay, again, under the eye, right at the ridge of that bone, but not in the eyeball. Tap firmly. There we go. Fast and good. All right, here's our next one. 2 fingers right between the nose and the lip. Tap. And let's move down. We're moving down the body, right in between the chin and the lip. 2 fingers. Tap firmly. Now, don't hurt yourself either, but firmly. Okay, the collarbone point. I'm going to have you locate it. Now, I know I'm wearing all this jewelry. Put your fingers, 2 fingers in between the your 2 collarbones. You'll feel a little notch in there. Okay, move down 2 inches and move over 2 inches. And you could do both sides with the tips of your fingers. Tap right there. Okay, now we're going to move down. I'm moving backwards so you can see. With those 4 fingers in a scooping motion, tap against the chest wall under the breast. Now, if you happen to have large breasts, you can move one up and tap right underneath it against the chest wall, or just do a scooping motion like that. All right, the next tapping point, take 4 fingers under the arm, move it down 3 inches. If you're wearing a brassiere, that's about where the bra strap is. So tap there with 4 fingers. Welcome. Okay, now the next point. Okay, that's it. That's the only points we're doing today, but there are a few that I have up my sleeve, and sometimes I forget, but these are the basic. They're actually called the shortcut route. I want you to know that negative emotional memories, old traumas, negative past events actually cause a biochemical response inside the body. Stress and anxiety will wear you down and wear down your immune system if you've had it long enough. So these emotions are directly affecting our physical health. And you may already know that, but I just wanted to remind you. And I'm telling you this because tapping is capable of stopping this negative emotional soup inside your body. It's actually affecting a nerve called the vagus nerve. Now, this nerve is super, super important. It helps to regulate your heartbeat. It helps to regulate and calm your digestion. It helps just to calm your body down. And when you have stress and you have trauma or you have anxiety, what happens is it's like you're driving a car and all of a sudden the brake lines are broken and you're driving a car without brakes and you're completely out of control inside your body. That's what the vagus nerve does when you're stressed. So tapping will, figuratively speaking, put the brakes back on. It calms your heart down. It calms your digestion. It calms your body down. You feel relaxed. It's a message to your body and a nice big sigh that I'm safe now. I'm not out of control anymore. This is the mechanism of tapping. And the reason why it does this is because we're adding something to this healing, and they're called biofields. This is what makes energy psychology so different. We're activating our human energy system, the unseen energy force inside our body that affects every single thing, our health, our heart, our mind, how we feel, and it releases the stuff that's inside of us. This is the groundbreaking difference between talk therapy. We're actually using our body to expel the bad stuff. And these are a couple of pictures of energy centers that we're really talking to. The one that looks like road maps all over that, the model there in the acupuncturist office, is what we believe that the meridian energy pathways look like. And then the one that the model that has the energy centers going down the body on the opposite side here, those are what we believe chakras look like. And it's just a good way to, and chakras, if you don't know anything about them, are just energy centers in the body that line up with real energy centers in our body, like the brain and stuff. So there's something to this. And I just wanted you to see what we think they look like. Now, that's me tapping in the car after I received my vaccination because I was kind of freaked out. But I wanted to show you a picture of me tapping. And I want to tell you why I created my brand of tapping, because it's a lot different from the traditional stuff that I was really born and raised on, so to speak. Remember, I said that I had my specialty were the emotions that lie beneath serious disease and pain syndromes. Well, I had to get to these people really fast because traditional tappings just didn't cut it. So the core issues that drove these negative emotions couldn't be reached in my opinion, by traditional tapping. And, when you have a problem with yourself, you're not going to be saying positive stuff. So what traditional tapping sounded like was you had to say this sort of a formula thing to say. So even though I have this, whatever your problem is, you plug it in, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you know what? When you're freaked out or you're in pain or you've got problems about yourself or other people inside, it's emotional lockdown. You're not going to be saying that and meaning it. And it was a real barrier for me and my clients until I figured it out. And because tapping and EFT tapping really relies on your negative thoughts. And so a lot of people watered it down to make it more palatable, but that didn't work either. And, teaching people how to tap, I've been doing it for a long time. Because of these formulas, people were afraid they're going to do it wrong, so they blew out, didn't do it at all. And that was sad to me because the stuff works so well. So I had to come up with a way. So I came up with what I'm calling grumble tap, because heck, everybody knows how to complain. And whatever you call it, kvetch, grumble, grunt, talk out of the side of your mouth. And grumble tap, I loved it because it kind of reminds me of the Grinch, always just kind of nothing going right. And a lot of times inside our head, we hear the noise and the negative stuff that we're thinking about. So it's easy just to talk about it, I figured. And nobody knows how to talk about your anxiety exactly like you do. You have your own thoughts about it. So talking, grumbling, complaining, it really works. Wait a minute. Because the real secret with tapping that you have to understand and not be afraid of is that we use negative language. It's the stuff that we hear inside of our head and not sugar coated and not how we want to feel either. You need to know that it's super, super easy. You're talking about how you feel. You can use stronger words. It actually helps to, get some of that anger out, but it's not necessary. If you've got a lot of anxiety, it's just better just to baby step. And that's why I'm here showing you this method. Although I do have a more power-packed method. But I think that grumble tapping, excuse me, is really what you need just to get the party started and start moving that anxiety out of your body. And it's really becoming the most popular way and the easiest way to do that. And it's self-help, okay? So I want you to go down in the chat box. If you know how to, I've got a little example here. If that's the chat icon, go down there and it will have where it says to everyone, if you want to type in something, a message to me or tell me how you're feeling about your anxiety or anything like that, get off of that thing when that says everyone and click on where it says host, and then I'll get your message directly. Otherwise, someone else will read your stuff. And if you don't want to do that, you don't want to be bothered with doing that, don't worry, you don't have to. I'm just showing you if you wanted to. This is for your own good. If you want to use your workbook, think of 4 or 5 words that encompass the way you feel about your anxiety and write it down. And here's some examples. Now, we did that early on. I want you to write it again and then gauge it 0 to 10. And if you want to share it in the chat box, which is why I showed you that, we're going to start doing some tapping and I'd be happy to use your words. But if you don't want to do that, believe me, I've worked with people with anxiety for so long, I pretty much will be able to add in whatever I need to do to get to your anxiety, because I've heard it a billion times from many, many people. So if you have that done, write it down or type it in to the chat and we're moving. Got your intensity going? All right, so we're going to tap now. Okay, I didn't get any examples in the chat, which is okay, because I pretty much know I pretty much know what to say for it. And these are just negative words, and it's going to just cover all bases. So we're going to tap here, tap along with me, and we're all on mute, so you can repeat after me. If you want to get rid of your anxiety right now, let's do it. And just repeat what I say. So remember, it's negative, so don't be afraid. Repeat this. I'll never get rid of this anxiety. I've had it too long. This isn't going to work for me. I can feel this anxiety in my head. This anxiety in my throat. Keep tapping, you guys. You're doing good. This anxiety in my chest. This anxiety in my stomach. Collarbone point. This anxiety in my legs. Against the chest wall. I can't let go of this anxiety. Under the arm, remember 3 inches down. I have too much of it. I'm going to show you a new part and I have to add it in, but slap the wrist. I can't let go of this anxiety. Tap the head again. It's never going to go away. I'm going to do this 3 times. We're going to go through it 3 times. Keep going. Follow me. Beginning of the eyebrow. It won't go away. Side of the eye. I'm stuck with it the rest of my life. Under the eye. I'll always have it. Now, for those of you I can see, let's stop tapping for just a second. Now, if you sighed, if you yawned, if you feel tingly, I saw someone sigh, that means that the energy is moving and the anxiety is moving out of your body. You may feel lightheaded. You may feel tingly. Everyone's a little bit different. Okay, we're going to just keep going with the tapping. I just wanted to point that out. So let's start again, all over again. And I'm going to just say negative things about anxiety. And at the end of this tapping round, I want you to check to see how much you have, all right? I'll never stop having anxiety. Remember, it's negative. I can't let go of it. I'm always going to have it. This anxiety in my chest. This anxiety in my heart. This anxiety in my stomach. I can't let go of it. I'm afraid I'm always going to have it. I'm afraid I'll always have anxiety. I'm afraid I'll always have anxiety. I'm afraid I'll always have anxiety. Okay, stop. Now I want you to look to see if you have changed your mind about your anxiety a little bit. If it's gone down, and if you want to use the chat box and let me know about that, plug it in. If it has gone down from the first time you gauged it, how much has it gone down? Even if it's gone down 2 or 3 points, maybe you started off at a 10, maybe it's a 6, that's still change. It's fabulous. You should be feeling more relaxed. You should be feeling a little calmer. And now that you know what that feels like, we're going to move on. You see, there's the workbook, and the workbook is there for you to keep track of your anxiety. And there's also another reason for it. It's to help you organize your thoughts for the club that I'm rolling out, and it's called the Weekly Resilience Club. And that club, in its meetings, can change everything. It's a game changer for the way you feel and your anxiety levels for the week. And I use that workbook to organize your thoughts, to bring it to the Weekly Resilience Club so that you'll be ready and set. And you know, by getting rid of your anxiety, very much just like we did today, although once you're in the club and we get used to each other, you feel more relaxed, you'll be able to share a little more about your anxiety. And then I can actually press that button directly by our tapping. So, but here's what the stuff that it does. You know, by getting rid of the noise in your head, it really shifts the way you feel about yourself. It really helps you get through life so much more. It just changes everything. And it's way too much to tell you in one webinar. But the important thing to walk away with this is when you get yourself together and release the anxiety in your head, everything changes in your body as well. Now more than ever, we have to get rid of the stress so that our immune system is stronger. And that's what happens when you get rid of anxiety. And it's actually fun to do, to be in the club, to release your anxiety in a group, the way we grumble together and tap. It's not dreadful. It gets rid of your stress really, really fast. And I teach you a lot more about stuff. Just give it to you a little at a time, though. The main focus is to get rid of your anxiety in every meeting. And they're in Zoom meetings. Excuse me. 30 minutes, really short. You hop on. They're at 11 Mountain Time. And the clubs are a very effective way to get yourself right for the weekend, at the very least. So here's a thought I have another club called the Inner Circle Club, and that's for people who use a little bit stronger method, who have worked with me before in the past, who have either taken my course or had private sessions with me. But she loves her weekly club meetings because we're getting rid of anxiety as well. Let's see, in that club. All right. Oh, thank you. Just reading the feedback. All right. Now, just for you, I just want you guys to know something. Generally speaking, for my sessions, I'm not cheap. I may be easy, but I'm not cheap. And I'm easygoing is what I mean. So I'm offering, because I know anxiety is a gigantic problem. It's huge. I'm offering it very limited time only. To join the club is $15 a month. A month. That is so cheap. But what you get for that amount is just incredible. I'm only doing this because there are, remember, 550 million people in the world with anxiety, and somebody's got to do something about it. So you can either pay $15 a month, or it's $161 for the entire year, and you have a little something as a backup plan for your anxiety. This is like self-care for you. You see how you feel today? This is how you would feel after your club meeting. Now, we've got one guy over here so relaxed, he fell asleep. Wake up, Warner. But he's relaxed. He may have started off all upset. Hi, Warner. But he was able to let his guard down and relax, and it's fine. To really catch the deal, do it today. You can either scan this QR code right now, or after the meeting, I'm sending you an email so you can join our club at this amazing rate. It is just me helping you feel more relaxed and feel better. Now, because I don't have benefit, I've got a question that I'll answer in just a moment, but thank you for that. I'm going to set it aside here. But I guess I will. Someone asked if I tap on both hands or armpits or just one hand. You use one hand, and you could double tap. Let me show real fast. Let me get back over here. Always to use one hand, and only where you can only use one hand is like that, but you could use two hands here, you could use two hands there, and you could use two hands there, and then back to one. The thing I want you to know is that there's not a perfect way. This is so completely forgiving that even if we're kind of near the tapping point, we're getting somewhere. So it's not required that this is done perfectly. So you could do two hands under the arms, you could use two hands there, but just all the places that are small, you can't use two hands. I hope I answered the question. All right. So this is it. I want to thank you for attending. This would be your time to ask me some questions if you wanted to. I would be happy to answer that. I want you to remember how you feel today. I know that after we did some tapping, you had to have felt more relaxed. This is a general way to show you that you can move this stuff out of your body. We just did it, and there's more to learn. And so if you attend my club, you can have some help. You'll have my help, and you'll feel better every Saturday you attend. And now it's the first 3 Saturdays of the month. You get the last Saturday off. I like to use that as just a assimilation week. And you'll be doing it so often with me that it's second nature. And so you'll be able to use the stuff that that I showed you today, and even more so in the club, to help you handle your life and get you out of a jam really quickly when it comes to anxiety. And so sooner or later, okay. The beginner, I got a question. You know, even if you've used EFT before and you're very familiar with it, I have a different way to do it. And it really, as we go, it's more of a learn as you go. It's completely different. It's the same negative language stuff, but I have a couple of different signature techniques that I use that actually work so much faster. And so the beginners club would absolutely be right for you even if you do have experience with tapping, until you get experience with my methods. So I have another question, and I'm not sharing who it's from, but I'm going to share it. You tapped after your vaccine. Did you do it? All right. So the person wanted to know if there was like a hot spot to go to. Well, I suppose there is, but I was so, in my case, there are favorite spots on the body for sure. And I think that's where you're coming from, that there's a spot on our bodies. After a while, you figure out that it feels better than most. But in the case of something like having a vaccination and the fear I had around that, first of all, from being a holistic doctor and having all that stuff in the background, and then hearing about the stuff, I just tapped everything. I mean, why not? It just takes maybe a minute. And I wanted to cover all bases. So again, there's no perfect formula. There's not one straight way. The method takes so little time that it takes no time at all to tap all the points. And when you tap, there's 12 points that we use in tapping in EFT. And these 12 points are out of 1,500 different possibilities of meridians on the body. There's a bunch of them. But the 12 that we use, or in our case, sometimes just 6 points, they are points where more than one of those 1,500 meridians come together. So we're actually working the whole body by just using just a few of these points. So I hope that wasn't too confusing, but it doesn't hurt to use every point. It doesn't take time at all. And, as much as, oh, okay. Oh, bye, Ron. Thank you for coming. If there's any questions whatsoever, please ask now. And if you're interested, I'm hoping you're interested to come with me and join this club. Go ahead and click here, the QR code, or wait for the email that has the registry. I was really, really glad that you attended. I recognize some of you, and I know some of you have had longstanding anxiety. I'm so delighted that you weren't afraid to come here and you were open to learning a little something new that can really help you very, very quickly. And so thank you for being open-minded. Thank you for joining me today. And if you don't have any more questions, then my masterclass is over. Thank you very much. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you can use this and join my club.